This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, Lizzie, a bit of an odd duck. She never played make-believe as a little child, was never interested in Cinderella or Rumpelstiltskin. Instead, she spent her free time charting the growth patterns of mold or learning how to spell in ancient Greek. She certainly didn't believe in vampires, or so she thought. Anyway, one day, much to everyone's surprise, Lizzie signed up for the school's annual camping trip. Not that a couple of days in the open air wouldn't do her a world of good. Singing round the campfire, dipping into moonlit lakes, and heaven forbid, cuddling up to a boy or two. But our Lizzie had something very different in mind. Slug hunting. So to say her co-campers failed to warm to poor Lizzie would be an understatement. The very first night, the tiniest of bats made a little swoop toward Lizzie's head. That girl freaked out like no one would ever have believed. Needless to say, the other teens were intrigued. No one would have pegged Lizzie as a bat-phobic kind of girl. Those kids pounced on it. Then they scooped up a bat and stuffed the poor creature under Lizzie's flap. And when Lizzie and the bat finally emerged, Lizzie had a crazed look in her eyes and the tiniest of bat bites right on her neck. Now the kids didn't let up the whole way back to town. She'd been bitten by a bat. She'd turned into a vampire for sure. But now in the light of day, Lizzie was calm, collected. She had too scientific a mind to be afraid of the undead. The symptoms were subtle at first. Back at home, Lizzie became lethargic. She could barely get out of bed day after day. She'd lie in her darkened room, curtains closed, unable to face the day. If it had been only that, Lizzie might have been able to shake it. But she suddenly developed a craving for meat. Rare meat. Nearly raw meat. Late at night, she'd sneak into the kitchen, fry herself up a couple of extra rare liver burgers and wolf them down. And then it got even worse. The girl got this image of the hugest glass of tomato juice in her head, and she just couldn't shake it. She needed a jug of it. So she snuck out past dark and headed straight for the all-night drive and sip. She loaded up on every brand they had and carted her bounty home, draining jar after jar, can after can. Lizzie sat on her bed and gave recent developments some serious thought. The bat bite throbbed, and she hadn't seen the light of day in a week. There was only one explanation. Lizzie was really and truly turning into a vampire. How long would it be until she was drooling at the sight of an unprotected neck? It was all too horrible. Something had to be done. So the next day, Lizzie forced herself into the noonday sun and to her family doctor's office. She begged the doctor to do something. Cure me, treat me, hook me up with an affordable blood bank before it's all too late. The doctor remained calm, looked into her eyes, took a few samples, consulted his chart, then gave her the news. 1, she had a vitamin deficiency. 2, she needed a better sunblock. And 3, if she didn't stay up all night hunting gastropods, she might be able to stay awake during the day. And as for that bite, he told her to take 2 aspirin and call him in the morning. Which Lizzie did. This is a true story. It happened to a friend of mine, Lizzie. Don't see much of her. Bet she's hiding. Doesn't want to be seen with those ugly braces on her fangs.